So let's start off with the hot news right now. Kevin Durant. Do we want and do we need? Does he fit? Um, the Spurs timeline, organization, the roster next to Wimby, all that stuff. I think the answer to all that is a mixed bag, right? It's like, yes, we do want him on the Spurs next year. If we can get any of these last couple drops out of Kevin Durant, in these last few years next to Wimby, and if it's still like a high level Kevin Durant, a guy who can still play defense. I mean, just a few years ago when he was on Brooklyn, I mean, he was awesome. He was awesome on defense playing next to Nick Claxton. So I do believe that there's something there with him. And I know we're worried about his age. He's 37 or 38. So we're talking about him being 38, 39, 40. There's something about this guy. He's a hooper. I think he was literally put on this earth to hoop. The body, the fact that he doesn't have all this muscle mass, that he hasn't, put all this extra weight on or stress on his body. I mean, he's so silky. His game, is very convenient for long term, duration of his body. So I really don't have a problem with his body. Do I have a problem with the money? He's going to be making big money for the next few years. Do I have an issue with that? I mean, I don't know about that much money. I'm willing to pay him more money if, we don't have to spend a lot on him, right? It's like, okay, yeah, we'll acquire his extension. We'll give him those, 2 extra years and, at 50 or 60 million a year, whatever it is, if we don't have to give up the farm to get him. And I think, the Spurs are very interesting in an interesting position on that. But first, before I talk about the actual, what I think the deals can be, I mean, can he, fit with this roster? I think, like I said, if you put him at the four next to Wimby at the five, I think that's something special defensively. I think that's something special offensively. I think the spacing is unbelievable. You pull the big man out, you pull the four out, to guard on the perimeter. I mean, Steph Castle, De'Aaron Fox, like whoever is just going to get runways to the paint, runways to the paint. So if KD can stay healthy, I think fit wise, I think it works. And it's kind of hard to put a roster around that scenario because we all don't know what will be included in that deal, except we know that it's probably not De'Aaron Fox. It's probably not Steph Castle. We know it's not Wemby. So if we can just keep those three guys and KD, I think you're off to something pretty special. De'Aaron Fox, I talk about all the time, guys. Like, we don't even know. We don't even know what De'Aaron Fox is going to be. We don't know how good he can work with Wimby, how good of a facilitator he can be to get Wimby going. In those like 3 or 4 games that we saw together, them two together, I mean, very short flashes. But when we got to see De'Aaron Fox for the rest of the season, I mean, he showed. I think he kind of compares himself to like a Shea in terms of his game. Like he can get to the line. He's a mid-range assassin. He's clutch. But what I saw in De'Aaron Fox is that he loves to get his guys going. Like he was focusing on Devin Vassell those first 2 quarters. Really trying to get guys open looks and get his team going. And then he turns it on at the end of the quarter and in the fourth quarter. It's like his time. So we don't even know what that next to Wimby alone, whoever else is on the floor with them, how potent that can be. I mean, that's a pretty good 2-man game. I'm just excited to see what type of results that can put out. So we're talking about adding Kevin Durant to that. I mean, yes, I on the court love it. Now let's talk about why maybe we shouldn't do it, or maybe why we haven't yet. I don't know. By the time this comes out, maybe he is on the Spurs, or he's with Miami, or he's with Houston. I think he wants to be here. I think that it's the Spurs know that. It was the same thing with De'Aaron Fox. Talking about De'Aaron Fox, it was the same exact thing. Fox was like, I want to go to San Antonio. That's it. So you know what? Sacramento was left having to put that deal together as best as they could. Now it took a third team, took Chicago, to get in there and try to do, what the Spurs weren't going to do in terms of the deal. And I think maybe that's what they're trying to do again. It's like we don't want to give up any players. We don't want to give up a lot of picks. It's like very minimal stuff. Like why? Because we don't have to. Like the Spurs don't have to help Phoenix replenish their draft capital or give them a next budding, top NBA player. If it's defensively of Jeremy Sohan, or if it's someone who still hasn't gotten there yet in Devin Vassell, or giving them our young talent in a number 2 pick in Harper or Stephon Castle. It's like we don't need to do any of that. We're not here like thirsty for Kevin Durant. we want him on our team. We would love to have that in our locker room and for our franchise. I mean, man, just a lot of possibilities of how great that can be for both parties, but we're not begging for it. And so, since that's the case, the Spurs are going to be smart, do as minimal as they can, possibly bring in a third team to see if the deal actually moves the needle, or if that can actually move the needle and get the deal done. But no, I don't think they're eager to do it. So I think it's like a 60-40 shot that the Spurs do get him or don't get him. Now, what's in it for Phoenix? Like if put yourself in Phoenix's shoes, they're limited on what they can do with Kevin Durant. The return that they get for Kevin Durant is not gonna be what they hope it is, right? It's just not gonna happen. So their options are to take a minimal return or take nothing. That is still on the table for Phoenix. I don't know why no one's talking about that. Yes, they blew their load trying to get Kevin Durant. They gave away their future and all that. I mean, they're trying to, I think, recoup some of that in this sale of Kevin Durant. But I mean, if they want to be stubborn and be like, no, that deal's not good enough. This deal's not good enough. And if there's a Toronto for Kawhi deal out there, like a team's like, all right, we'll give you our top two guys and like two picks, for 1 year of Kevin Durant. Like we'll do that. It's championship or bust. Like we're in it. Maybe it's a GM who's like um at the end of his run contract, whatever. It's like yeah, we'll mortgage some things to get Kevin Durant in, even if it's just for 1 year. He's probably not going to sign with us, but it's going to be one hell of a year. I mean, there's teams out there that will do that. I believe Toronto did it, and it worked out well for them. So it's like that's still an option, you know. If the deal's not good enough, there's no Toronto team out there, and Kevin Durant just stays on the Suns for one more year, and they have to let him walk. That's the worst case scenario. Now, Matt Ishbia, the new owner of the Suns, I mean, he's kind of like a gunslinger out here. Like he's a wild card. I don't know what he's gonna do or what he's willing to do or not do. So I have a feeling he's kind of like, you know what? I'm not gonna make a bad deal. So we're just gonna let him walk. He's gonna finish out his year. He's gonna play next to Devin Booker one more year, and we're just gonna let him walk. I mean, that's another scenario out there for Phoenix. I don't think they should do that. I just feel like Matt Ishbia, it's like, why rule that out? I mean, this guy is new to the game. He's new to all this. He wants to make a wave. He wants to do all these things, but no one's going to mortgage that for him, for Phoenix. No one's in here to bail out Phoenix, right? We don't have like a bailout system around the NBA that's just like, how do we get Phoenix back to being, no, there's none of that. You make your bed, you lay in it, you learn from it, you move on. So that's kind of how I feel about it. Can Houston put a package together? I think they probably could put a better package together from the Spurs. I had tweeted out a couple days ago, like, I really think that Phoenix is starting off on the wrong with the wrong idea of keeping Devin Booker as well. What? Why? Why? Is Devin Booker going to get you to the 8th seed with a bunch of young guys? Is he going to be play-in territory with Booker and like a group of young players? Like, no, like it's not. Like you want to be a championship or whatever. It's like, no, they would need to acquire a lot from Kevin Durant and maybe try to turn that into another big star, right? Or something like that, if that's what they want to do to try to be championship contenders. But it's just not in there for Booker and Cass. And we've already seen that. We've seen that for plenty of seasons. And I love Booker, man. Like, that guy's awesome. A real two-way guy. And that's why I feel like, man, dude, if Phoenix could just align themselves with their goals, I feel like it would tell you that Devin Booker needs to get traded also. And so Kevin Durant, you get what you can for Kevin Durant. For Booker, you ask for the whole thing, right? You ask for the whole pie. You want your picks, 4 of them. You want 2 players, top dogs, or something, good contracts that you can turn and maybe flip the next season or in the offseason or something like that, turn it into more assets. That's the rebuilding mode. I don't see another way for Phoenix to get to the top with the roster that they have. Bradley Beal still has his no trade clause for some reason and doesn't want to leave. I don't know why he wouldn't want to leave too. I mean, like, I'd be like, bro, I'll waive that no trade clause today if you can get me to, if you can get me to a Detroit, if you can get me to an Indiana, if you can get me to Milwaukee, like, I'll waive that clause if I was Bradley Beal. But since he's putting the franchise on handcuffs with his contract and all that, I mean, there's really not much they can do. So if I'm Phoenix, I'm not really too worried about, like, you've been reading all this stuff about they're trying to maximize their return for Kevin Durant. I just don't see it as even a real possible scenario in terms of like Kevin Durant being cool with that because he's got this leverage, and either he's going to be a 1 year guy, and if there's a team that can deal with that like Toronto did, then great. But if not, if there's no deal out there like that that suits the Suns, because the Suns need to operate Suns first, not let's make this as great for Kevin Durant as we can and try to just see what we can get. No, it should be the other way around. Let's do the best for the Suns as we can do, and then we'll get Kevin in one of those scenarios. But since Kevin has like this extension lingering, like hey, like I will sign a few years more, and that maybe can return more back to the Suns, but it's on my terms. It's only like San Antonio, Houston, and Miami, which I believe really is only San Antonio. I think that's where he wants to be, but he's just not saying that. So that way the team can kind of leverage them against each other, see what the field is like, what the market is like, and all that. So, I mean, it doesn't make no sense for him to be on Miami unless, he's trying to just end his career on the beach on South Beach. It doesn't. I mean, Houston is interesting. If you can get him to Houston and keep Shangoon and keep Fred VanVleet around, keep another of these guys, a couple guys, then yeah, I mean they'll be competitive. They're in the playoffs. Like keep Amen Thompson, keep those dudes, and add Kevin Durant. That makes a lot of sense. To make a big splash, it's San Antonio. We know about his love for Austin. We know about his love for the Longhorns, and he wants to put a WNBA team back in Austin, which is a great idea. Like freaking great idea. Like I don't know why there's not that right now. Like Austin is a very liberal city. I think they'll support women's professional sports at a high rate. Like I think they'll actually have great turnout. I mean, they already do. Like they champion their softball team, their volleyball team for UT. I think a pro girls sport would do very well there. So that's a good idea. And so all those things line up for him to come to San Antonio. And San Antonio knows this. I tweeted also the other day that um, the Spurs at all costs need to try to keep. Now I know this might sound like unrealistic because we gotta match salaries or something unless we got a third team in there, but I don't think the Spurs want to get rid of Devin Vassell, or they would have in the De'Aaron Fox trade. I don't think that they want to get rid of Jeremy Sohan. We know how critical he's going to become when we are in those playoff runs. Like he's a defender that we need to have on our team. So Sohan, I would say no. Devin Vassell, dude, if he can't start and we can bring him off the bench and he's comfortable with that, I mean, the sky's the limit for him. I mean, he can be six man of the year type guy if he can come in and we give him the torch on the bench, and then you got spot minutes with him and Fox, spot minutes with him and Wimby, spot minutes with him and KD. It's like all three of those guys can defer to Devin to hit those big shots. He kind of becomes like a Michael Porter Jr. Kind of, if you will. I don't want to say he's a Manu Ginobili just because he comes off the bench. I mean, no one's Manu Ginobili. But Devin can really do something special in a role like that, and maybe maximize his value for his next contract. You know what I mean? And that makes him more valuable the next time he's a free agent, and maybe then he either walks or not. I mean, the Spurs, they really need to hold these guys. I mean, maybe Blake Wesley and Malachi Branham are expendable because they didn't even get any run this year, and I kind of attribute that to Pop going down. I think they were getting some minutes. Pop got sick, and Mitch Johnson shrunk the rotation, like, and gave Stephon Kessel all the opportunities. So Malachi and Blake kind of fell off the roster, but they're not bad players, man. Like they're not bad players. They're not busts. They just need opportunity. They need a lot of it to grow and get better. So even those guys I don't want to see leave. I don't want to see Julian Champagny leave. I don't want to see Keldon leave, to be honest. Keldon deserves everything from the Spurs, meaning in terms of like we'll keep you around as long as we can if he's willing to adjust, and his contract's already very, very flexible. So who does that leave? That leaves guys like Harrison Barnes, Mamu Kelishvili, um, Chris Paul's gone, right? The Jordan McLaughlin guys, right? Like all these extra guys, the Charles Bassies, all these guys need to. I know they're not going to move the needle for Kevin Durant, but those are your pieces that you're even willing to move. If I'm the Spurs, I don't want to move any of our own picks, and you've seen them do that already. Like they try to maximize the heck out of Dejounte before they traded him. Um, they did right by Derek White and trading him to a place that he can be successful, and honestly where the fit was made in heaven for him to be around Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and to actually give that offense some rhyme, some reason, some sync, can sync it up to mesh together. Like they were a mess. They didn't know what the hell they were doing until they got Derek White. And so we put Derek White in the best case scenario. I'm sorry I'm all like in and out of focus, guys. I'm just using my shitty ass webcam right now. But what did we do with Lonnie Walker? We just let them walk. So I think the Spurs like to hold on to their developmental talent, and they'll let them walk if it doesn't work out. And I don't think they're willing to give away anything too big for KD. So I think like a realistic kind of thing for KD maybe is next year's pick. Maybe we give them next year's first round pick, ours, not Atlanta's, ours. They can have our first round pick next year. They can have maybe one of or both Malachi and Blake, just to contribute some salary filler in there, and Harrison Barnes. And then a third team would have to come in and put like, the player that Phoenix wants to pair with Devin Booker, if they even do want to be competitive. It's not going to come from us. It's not Devin Vassell. It ain't going to be Stephon Castle. It's not going to be these guys. So, you know, in terms of San Antonio and Kevin Durant, I don't know what they're going to do, but it's going to be something that's not going to break the Spurs back. So, there's that. So those are kind of my general thoughts. Do I want to see it? Yes, I would love to see it for 2 or 3 years. To have Kevin Durant and Wemby together, if Kevin Durant can stay healthy, play some defense, as well as be, the Slim Reaper that he is. That's very exciting, and is kind of like playoff hunt potential. We should be in that, fighting for that 6, 7, 8 seed. I think if that is your roster, surrounded by the guys that we already have, our number 2 pick. Obviously, we can give the number 14 pick away in this deal as well. That's not a big deal.